Today I'm refuting Guadalupe Garcia's claim of fact. Her main claim is drug laws are ineffective. She supports her claim with 3 points. Drug use has a negative effect on the economy, drug use negatively affects education, and drug regulations are not effective. I will first give a quick overview of overall analysis of the main claim and possible mistakes in it. Then I will break down each of the secondary claims and the supporting points. The main claim and the consistent problem that is made throughout the speech is that even though the claim is stated, the issue is not clear enough. She's not taking a clear position. Another problem that made it hard to refute is that there isn't much of a controversy over the subject. Now let's go over the secondary claims. The first secondary claim is drug use has a negative effect on the economy. After stating that 24 billion, the total cost of drug abuse and addiction due to use of tobacco, alcohol, and illegal drugs are estimated at 524 billion a year. I quote her that she says, this demonstrates that these laws aren't good enough because the privileges of the drug use are used inappropriately. This is kind of confusing because the speaker didn't specify what laws she's talking about, and it seems that the problem is with drug users not using drugs appropriately. From the sound of the statement, it seems that there isn't a clear position taken on against drug laws or against drug users. The statement seems to be putting just as much blame on the drug users as it does on drug laws. The second source was used to support the first secondary claim was that 11 billion in healthcare costs, illicit drugs use affects business and the economy. She also, I quote her that she says, this demonstrates that those who abuse drugs are help with aid prove to be unstable for the economy because they aren't taking the matter too seriously. This statement was also confusing because, she continues by saying that this shows that drug laws are not being effective. The warrant or the explanation of the relationship between the source and the topic is unclear. It's unclear because the speaker, by saying that drug users are economically unstable, or I'm not sure if she's saying that drug users are economically unstable because they consume drugs, or if she's saying that drug abuse creates instability to the economy. The second part of the explanation that says they aren't taking the matter too seriously, it's also unclear if she's speaking about law enforcement not taking the matter too seriously on controlling drugs, or if she's saying that abusers are not taking the matter too seriously and don't care about their health. So it's the same problem. Then there is just as much blame on drug users as there isn't any direct issue with drug laws. There isn't any drug laws stated. The last supporting point for the first claim is that it includes a source that states workers who were current drug users also were about twice as likely as non-users to skip 1 or more days in the past month. The speaker makes the inference that this can lead to unemployment, which can hurt our economy. It is true that unemployment can hurt our economy, but there was no research done on how many people are unemployed because of smoking weed. According to International Business Times, posted on February 2011, among the top causes of unemployment are reasons such as less job openings, these are reasons that there is unemployment in the U.S. Job openings, there's less job openings, lack of economic growth, government sector layoffs, Chinese job grab, and high taxes. Workers are not going to work in the most insignificant and unlikely reason to cause unemployment. So smoking weed is not gonna make a dent, that's a noticeable dent in the U.S. economy. The speaker concludes the first secondary claim by linking the last supporting point to the main confusing theme of the privileges are not misused, which is also not clear if she's talking about privileges of people being able to smoke and drink, or it's really confusing. The second claim was drug use negatively affects education. The speaker starts the second secondary claim by quoting, students who are not current marijuana users are more than twice as likely to report an average grade of an A than current users of marijuana. She explains, according to the quote, laws that reach schools aren't being used effectively and students aren't being productive. There's no information about how many students are failing because they smoke weed, or how many students are. It doesn't say anything about that. It only says that students who smoke weed are less successful. It doesn't say how many students are not successful. And the second supporting point for the secondary claim, the speaker interpretation of the information presented in the study contradicts the actual outcome of the study. The speaker said, based on contradiction, the speaker says that on the study, their thoughts process was not accurate, but it actually says in the quote from the source that there was no effect on accuracy of measures of cognitive flexibility, mental calculation, and reasoning. The last secondary claim, the speaker. To begin, the secondary claim falls into making the mistake of circular reasoning, or begging the question, because it's supporting the main claim with an identical claim to the main claim itself. Supporting point of the third secondary claim, smokers don't use regulations appropriately. This statement makes the mistake of avoiding the issue because it is not supporting the secondary claim or the main claim itself. I'd like to conclude this by saying that Guadalupe should take a more clear position on the issue and should explain what specific laws are ineffective and what constitutes an effective law from an effective law. Thank you.
All right, I think that you initiate the argument by saying that, look, it's not very clear what the argument is. I thought that was an okay claim to make. You give a couple of explanations that sound like they explain what is problematic here. I thought you did a better job later on when you said, well, does it mean X or does it mean Y? You do that in a couple of places, and because there's ambiguity as to what the advocate's actual claim is making, there's a good reason to understand why we shouldn't assume that there is a relationship that's being asserted here. I'd like the criticism on the first point that says that the law that is supposedly failing is never specified. And I also like the counterclaim that becomes kind of your catch-all claim in both the first and the second points, and that is that the source of the problem is not the law itself, it's actually the users, and that's the source of the issue that's going on. If you were confused about the $11 billion spent for health care for people who are illegally using drugs, so was I, because I wasn't sure what that gets either you or the advocate on that particular point. You do come back to the issue about whether it's the users or the law again. I thought that that's a reasonable point there. The challenge on whether or not drug use hurts the economy, I think that you should go back to the original point that you made. There's probably not much controversy on this. It certainly isn't helping the economy any. However, I will suggest that it's probably a minimal influence here. Certainly the advocate doesn't provide any reason for this, and we got plenty of other reasons that the economy is suffering. So there's a counterclaim that's there. Simplify that claim, cut to the chase. You are trying to kind of analyze everything, and you need to simplify the arguments. The arguments come down to it's not clear what the advocate is saying, and the way we know that it's not clear is because we're never sure if it's X or Y that is the choice that we're being offered here. And I can tell you that the source of the problem is the user, and in the long run, the advocate doesn't prove any impact of anything related to the laws. That's basically what your argument is. You need to kind of get down to those basics. Your speech is, almost, well, it is a little bit over 8 minutes, so, it's perhaps a little too thorough. Right, and because it's a little too thorough, I have to be a little bit less thorough here. All right, thank you.